are talking Robin of Sherwood, Season 1, Episode 4, The 7 Poor Nights from Acre. It's been a while since I've done one of these reviews, and I had recently reviewed the audio drama Robin of Sherwood, The Knights of the Apocalypse. So I've kind of started to got me in the mood for Robin Hood again. So I've rewatched starting to rewatch this series, and now I can finish doing my review of Season 1 finally. Anyway, so The 7 Poor Nights of Acre. When this was first on, this was my favourite episode of the first season because it deals with the Templar Knights. And they are kind of like medieval warrior monks, effectively. And I guess by today's standards, you'd almost say that these are kind of like the special forces, if you like, of the medieval world. So the story here is a thief steals a kind of amulet from these Templar Knights, and they think Robin Hood has thieved it. And they kind of go after Robin Hood and his merry bunch of cronies. At the same time, the Sheriff of Nottingham realises this, actually ends up getting hold of this amulet that was stolen, and is all very smug about it. What will happen? You'll have to watch the episode and find out. So, let's discuss what works. So this gives you a kind of, we've had in the first couple of episodes, we've had like the dark forces, mystical evil, sorcerers. Here we have the church at its most forceful. These Templar Knights do seem legitimately dangerous. And, they are speaking in French most of the time. And again, it gives a sense of authenticity. We see a lot of time with these knights doing their prayer and things like that. So I do think they actually set up these Templar Knights pretty well. When we see them kind of do like a funeral service for one of their kind of fallen members. And it gives them a real mystique, I think, and makes them genuinely feel dangerous. They are also kind of not necessarily seeing eye to eye with the Sheriff of Nottingham, although ultimately the Sheriff of Nottingham kind of lets them do what they want to do because they are kind of hunting Robin Hood and his friends. They really aren't kind of on the same page, and it gives a great sense of drama, I think, between these kind of characters. And this episode, I think, has a fairly good kind of story structure in the fact that the Marys, if you like, have to go through quite a gambit to try and save Much, who then ends up getting kind of kidnapped by these Templar Knights. And we have this face-off with these Templar Knights, and they really don't fare that well. These Templar Knights do actually, in their initial kind of conflict, put the kind of our kind of heroes in a tight spot. One of them is killed, James, who only just joined last episode. He is killed in this episode. They capture Much, and the rest of them, they kind of get chased away. So it demonstrates the fighting prowess of these Templars. And even we get a match with kind of Robin, one of the Templars, and a kind of like trial by combat. And again, it's done to not nerf these Templar Knights, which I think was pretty good. So, and then we kind of get off. We have a little side mission of trying to retrieve this amulet from the Sheriff of Nottingham. So I think the story structure of this particular episode is quite strong. As always, I think some of the best scenes come from Nicholas Grace as a Sheriff of Nottingham, and Robert Addy plays guys, gives them some of their kind of interplay. I think is absolutely kind of like golden here. I really like that, and I think the action in this episode, again, this is a 1984 TV show, and obviously it was on prime time, so it's not going to be the bloody, brutal violence that you would have seen in the likes of kind of Game of Thrones. But nonetheless, I do think in this particular episode, I think some of the kind of the action sequences are pretty good. What doesn't work in this episode, I think I have to say the end, the end confrontation with these Templars is a little on the weaker side. They tend to be sort of defeated very, very easily with a relatively sort of simple trick. It's not exactly climactic, I would suggest. And the other thing as well is I think it was a real missed opportunity to have the character of Nazir not be a bigger part of this particular episode, because you're dealing with a Saracen versus the kind of the Templar Knights, and they, you know, that's obviously has its own kind of like connotations and things like that. And really Nazir, really in this entire season, but I would say in particularly in this episode, he's just more of a background character and doesn't really have any real impact on the story. And this, if there was one story in season 1 where I think, you know, it could have had a little bit of a spotlight shone on him, would have been this episode, because it would obviously have, you know, you've got the historical significance of the Templar Knights and as kind of a Saracen. Now, I suspect this is probably because the script was already written for this kind of the rest of season 1 before they decided to keep on Mark Ryan as Nazir as a kind of regular character. He was originally going to be killed off in episode 2, and it was only sort of during filming that they decided to kind of keep him on. So I suspect they've just kind of like fitted him into the existing scripts without really giving him anything to do. So I presume that's probably why he really doesn't have a lot to do in this particular kind of season. Maybe a little bit in the final episode, but yeah. So, but I think that was the missed opportunity to have a little bit more context in regards to a Saracen versus the kind of the Knights Templar. As it stands, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. I think it's you know, a worthwhile bit of television. Some missed opportunities, perhaps. What did you think of it? Please leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.